Hello, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome back. We have part 5 now of this build of the Hachette Lancaster, and it's Hachette Lancaster Revisited. I always say this at the beginning of the videos: if you want to see the standard build as intended by Hachette, I'm doing that as another series, another playlist. You can go and look at that on my channel. Those are just called Hachette, Lancaster Bomber, B.III, whatever. These are called, they've always got in the title Revisited, so, and the playlist is called Revisited. So go take a look at that. What I'll be doing for now, I am doing parts 1 to, or packs 1 to 14 with the modifications, because I already have those with me. Today is the 28th of April 2024. Now I don't know when the next pack's going to arrive, but as and when it happens, I'll be what I'll do is I'll do the packs out of the box as Hachette intended, and then I'll go back and do another video and make any modifications as normal. What I'm intending to do is, if it's just a simple case like when we get to packs, I think it's 13, 14, or even 12 and 13, it's just going to be like a floor and then the wing spar. We'll just paint them, and that'll be like 10 minutes of a video, you know, or 5 minutes even of a video. So at the moment it's quite intense. The packs are quite busy. There's a lot of them, especially this one. So kind of part 5 is almost going to be all of pack 5, if you like. As we start to move forward, we will start to see sort of, you know, pack 7, 8 and 9 will be done in one video kind of thing. I'm not saying that that is what will happen, but, you know, we'll start to see 3 packs in one video. If you want to join in with me, have a look here. You can now see the QR code there on the right. You can look at that QR code. You can look at the website across the bottom and go and join in if you want to. The first issue is £1.99. You get the second issue for free, and then from then on it's £10.99. If you've already got the first couple of issues, you can start from 3 or 4 or whatever, and you'll pay for the first issue. The second issue is free, and if you subscribe you get all those freebies that I've shown you. So here we have part 5, and pack 5, and as you can see, lots and lots of little parts, very highly detailed in this area. There is a lot more detail in here than you get in the Hong Kong Models 1/32 Lancaster. And it's the same amount of detail as you get in the border model Lancaster. However, the border model Lancaster detail is a bit nicer, it's a bit finer, but it's not a part work, it's a plastic model kit. It's a very, very difficult model to build. Well, it's a fairly difficult model to build. It needs a lot of cleanup, and obviously, of course, nothing is painted, nothing's motorized and all that sort of stuff. So what we're going to be doing here is mainly changing colors of things. The big thing in this one is going to be the seat belts. The seat belts on the seat, as you can see here, are sort of coming from the back and then coming over from the sides. You will see this part, is it 05P? Yes, 05P, you will see in the instructions here, goes into the back of the seat. There. 05P is actually the mount that the harness should come off of. So we're going to remove that harness from the seat. We're going to repaint the seat. The actual seat itself should be black. The cushioning is all going to be done in green, and the actual frame that it sits on will be green. The armor plate will be black. The supports on the side will be black. The armors will be black. With the leather armrest will be green or brown, whatever. There's also another subject of contention. Some say the seat base should be hollow because the pilot sat on his parachute. Okay, I've covered this before. Yes, a lot of Lancasters had that feature where the pilot sat on his parachute, but in the long journeys they did, or the long missions they did, the pilot complained of being very uncomfortable, sat there for 10 hours on that parachute, unable to move, and it became very uncomfortable. So what they started to do was fit cushions to the base, as Hachette have depicted here. In the border model kit, you get the option to do either. You can either have it hollow or you can have it with the cushion. And then quite often what they did, they mounted the parachute on the back of the seat. Okay. Now, some people tell me I'm completely wrong and it's absolute rubbish. There is actually a picture in Richard Alexander's book in the Wing Leader Art Photo Archive series, and you can see the parachute behind the seat. And also there is a video on YouTube where they interview a flight engineer, and the flight engineer sits there in the interview and he actually states, I've actually rewound it 3 times I think it was and listened to it. He actually sits there and he says, in the event of an emergency, my first job was to grab the pilot's parachute and clip it to his harness. Okay, so there you go. So there's actual living proof from a guy who was actually there, not somebody who's read textbooks or looked at photographs or whatever. That guy was actually there, and he said his first job was to remove the parachute, or to get the parachute and clip it to the pilot's headrest, to the pilot's harness. Bloody headrest, what we're talking about. So so we're going to stick with this seat. Okay, now the seat that Hachette have given us is perfectly adequate for the job. Now, if you are going to be putting figures in your model, you don't need to worry about the harness, because obviously the figure has the harness on it. Now, or you'll have the harness on top of the figure. Now you can see here this seat. It's very, very simplistic. So we're going to remove these straps, and we're going to take them off. We may try and thin them down and reuse them, but the other option is there's many aftermarket options. Now you can buy. It's basically a Sutton harness, okay? Now here is probably the best. This is for the Spitfire Mark 1A, but they do generic ones. This is basically a Sutton harness, all right? And you can see there we've got the two straps which are going to come down from the mount, and then we've got the piece there in the middle, the webbing in the middle, and then we've got the lap straps there. All of these bits and pieces here are specific to the Spitfire. And you can see we've got all the photo-etched buckles there. Okay, so if you want to go for this option, fill your boots, but it may look a little lost on there. But I'm not sure if the Lancaster was exactly the same, but there are generic Sutton harnesses out there. Also, the kits that are available, people don't generally use the photo etch from the kit. So if you know somebody who's built the border model Lancaster or has the border model nose section kit, then you could ask them if you can buy their photo etch, and this is what you will get. So this is the photo etch that comes with the border model Lancaster. You can see you've got all the belts here for the navigator, wireless operator, and the turrets. You've got the shoulder straps with that Y section that goes in behind, and then here you've got the waist belts for the pilot, and then this here is the backrest for the flight engineer, and here you've got another of the wide harnesses for the. So you've got two turrets there, so there's two. You've got navigator, wireless operator. Oh, and of course you've got the top turret as well, so there's three. So you've got a full set of harnesses there for the border models kit. And then also, if you know somebody who's got the Hong Kong models kit, there's the harness that comes in the Hong Kong models kit. It's not as nice as the border models one. Okay, it doesn't have all the raised detail on it. With this, you could paint it and then rub it and get those brass eyelets to show through. But we'll probably use this one because I'm going to use HGW on my next border model build. You also, in the border model kit, you may find that someone hasn't used this, and you might be able to scrounge it off them. There are two options with the border model kit. This is the seat that you get with the moulded in harness, which I've used in my build, which is very, very nice indeed. And then this is the option here, where you have the seat without harnesses and it has the uncushioned base. Okay, so you have those options there in the border model kit. So if you've got a border model kit, the nose on or the full kit or whatever, then you'll have one of these you could perhaps graft into this seat. I don't know. If you have the Hong Kong models kit, the seat in the Hong Kong models Lancaster is not very nice at all. It's too long on the base. If you're putting a pilot in, you could get the wings cockpit figures for the Hong Kong model seat and use that seat. But I think this seat is perfectly adequate. If we add some belts, I think it's going to look fine. Okay, so, and I don't really want to go away and start using aftermarket seats and everything, because I think that's detracting from the build that Hachette are giving. I don't see a problem with replacing that seat belt, because it's clearly not right. Because even if you look at their prototype model on the video that's linked down below, they actually have the harness connected to that strap. So what you could do if you wanted to, the simple option would be to just remove these upper two straps here and then fit that little piece where the harness goes on and just attach them to that. That could be your simple option, but we'll cover that in a second. So that's harnesses out of the way. Okay, these are, by the way, if you want to get these, if you go and look at the Hachette website, if you put in in the Hachette website, if you put in 1/32 scale Sutton harness, or just Sutton, you will find a load of harnesses come up, and you can get a generic harness. If you're not a scale modeler, if you're a partwork modeler, you're not a scale modeler, you may find this very, very difficult to put together. It is very, very complex. Okay, you've got a choice of decals for your brass eyelets, you've got a choice of 3D printed brass eyelets, or you've got a choice of photo etched brass eyelets. So you can do what you want. I mean, it's very, very complex indeed. Probably the most complicated harness you can buy. And this one, as you can see, is for the B.III Spitfire. The B.III Spitfire doesn't come with photo etched belts. It has the moulded in option only. So there you go. Okay, so in pack 5, as you can see, we get all these parts. So this is going to be repainted like a grey colour. This is going to be green. That's going to be green. That's going to stay that colour. Green, black, black with green cushions. That's all going to be black and silver. That's going to be silver. This will be green, 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 green. Sorry, black for that one, I think. Black for that one, green for that one. And then I'm going to do all these pipes silver. And then the armrests will be repainted and everything. And you've got these 2 supports. What I am going to do, it's quite tricky to get all this together. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the belts from the seat. Then we're going to fit the headrest and the supports. This operation here, it's quite challenging, and I will show you how to do it. So we'll get all that together and glued firmly. And then once we've got the seat belts off and everything, we'll have a look at perhaps adding some texture to the lower cushion, and we'll we'll mask off those armour plating symbols, and then we'll have they got the armour plate on both sides? Yes, they have. The yellow circle. We'll mask off those circles, and then we'll spray the whole seat black, and go from there. Right. So first things first, let's get myself organised. All right. So we've got all our parts here from pack 5. We'll get all these out of the bag, and then we'll get them all mounted up ready for painting. There's no screws or anything in this pack. It's all just little parts. Very little parts indeed. But don't be scared. It's not... I know some people... I heard Scott from Building with the Boys. I heard Scott say that some people have actually given up on this kit because of the complexity. But I can assure you that once the turrets are out of the way, I don't think... Maybe the engines, maybe the undercarriage. I think the rest of it's going to be plain sailing. And the thing is, if you follow me, you follow Scott, you look at the instructions carefully, you're going to have no problems at all. So, first of all, the parts we're not going to paint, I'm going to put to one side. That's it. The rest of it is all going to get painted. So, that part there can go back in its bag, or in a bag, and go back in its box. Because first of all, we're going to... Oh, come on, open. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Right, that's going in there. That can go back in its box. So that's that. The rest of this is going to be painted. Now, these seat belts, I'm going to remove, and we're going to see how easy they come off. Now, remember, I did, in my other build, I did pull one off to see how it looks. Excuse me. Okay, so it looks like they come off quite easily. Let's try and cut through the glue. Oh, that's a lot better. If you cut through the glue, I've cut through the strap there. Just get the knife up there, get the knife up there. There we go. So they should come off quite easily. The buckles are coming off separately. And then we'll cut up there. As I say, what you could do here is fit, where's that little quadrant, that little part, where is it? There it is. This tiny little piece here, I think I said it was 05p, didn't I? That piece there is what the belts are going to mount on. So you can see by the width of that, that's made for 2 belts, and you can see the width of these belts. Whoops. Careful doing that, it's going to fly across the room if you're not careful. So that's basically going to go in there like that. It's going to be glued in, which we'll do in a minute. Okay, and then you could basically just move your belts up. Oh, they're glued there as well. So we'll get rid of the glue there. They're glued to the base as well. blimey. They didn't want these going anywhere, did they? That one's easy enough. Okay, so all we've got to do is then move that belt across and mount it on there. And you could just be doing that and be happy. But I won't be happy with that. I'm going to completely remove these belts. Okay. So it's a very nice material actually. It's almost like a blotting paper type material. But it's very nice, and we'll keep the buckles because they'll come in handy for something. There we go, so we've got all our buckles, we've got all our belt material. Now what you could do now is come along and just cut this material in half. Get it on a cutting mat. There's my little cutting mat. Come here, little cutting mat. Just get it on there. Get a rule. Use a steel rule, not an aluminium rule. If you use an aluminium rule, you just ruin the rule. And then we can take our knife. I'm just going to butt that end in there, and then just cut a thinner strip and use that. Okay, and that is actually a very nice belt material because it goes where you want it to go, and it pretty much stays there as well. So there you are. That's one way of doing it. But I think we're going to use the photo-etched brass ones because I think they represent the harness lovely. And I know that the other ones you can get are the Airscale ones, the same as using the instrument decals I showed you. Airscale make harnesses, but I don't unfortunately have a 32nd scale. I've got a 24th scale. I'll show you that one. Here we go. I have a 32nd scale Luftwaffe one, so you can see the size of those belts. Here's the 24th scale. Oh, this is a Luftwaffe as well. Sorry, US Air. Right, 32nd scale US Army Air Force. Okay. And then this is a 24 scale Luftwaffe one. So you can see how they look like that. Okay. So you get the big buckle. These are 24 scale. So you can see that these are too big for scale for this model. So there's the buckles, and then you get the straps and everything. And there's a good set of instructions on the back, as you can see here, to show you how it all goes together. And this is like this blotting paper material. Okay. So that's another option. There's lots and lots of options out there for belts. You know, there's also, you can get vinyl belts and everything. So what I'm going to do here is see if I can find something that will dissolve this glue and not attack the plastic and get it all off. So I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm not going to put you through that, and then I'll come back and let you know how I got on. Okay, so I've done the base of the seat, and what I've done, it looks a bit of a mess to be honest. What I've done is just come along with a scriber and scribed lines to get some, so we've got the base the same as the back with the sort of quilted, the quilted base. It doesn't all need to be perfectly straight. In fact, it's better if it isn't. It makes it look a bit more worn because obviously the base gets a lot more worn than the top. And then what I've done is come along with a knife and gone in and scraped along where I've scribed the lines. Okay. You don't have to have a special scriber. You could just use a pointed tool, something like this, just to scratch your lines, and then you can get in there with your knife just to sort of make trenches with a sort of radiused edge. Just do that, and then a bit of sandpaper or something, just go over and remove any sharp edges, and then drop of extra thin Tamiya extra thin cement over the top, brush it out like so, and hopefully you can see there when it's shiny, you can see the kind of finish we've got. So it's sort of an uneven quilting. And then what we can do on the back, we can come in and scrape some material away from areas, little bits and pieces, just to make that all uneven. Okay, and then do the same with the sander, just like that. There we are. So I think that's an improvement to the seat. Now let's have a look at this, attaching this headrest. So we've got headrest. I keep calling it headrest, the armour plate. We've got this little piece here which is going to have to go on for the belts, and then we've got these two bits here. There's one there. That's an armrest, and there's. Oh, have I got a missing part? No, I can't see it if you're looking. There's those two there, okay? So so basically they are going to go there. So what happens is this goes on like that. Okay, it angles forward. Alright, so that goes on like that. And then what you do is these here, they hook around the sides. I can't remember where they go now. Hang on, let me have a look at the book. I can't remember where they go. That's right. Okay, so they hook around the sides and go in through the back. So that is basically going to hook into there. Right, like that. And that one's going to hook into there like that. You kind of hope they'll stay in place. Put your thumb on there. And then that's going to go into the seat like so. And then these, I need to turn it over, don't I? Then these brackets, it's going to go into the seat like that. And then these brackets have pins on that go into holes in the top of the seat. Kind of like that. And as you can see, it all just wants to fall apart. Now then, this is when we need to do some cleanup. You can see on the bottom of here, I've already sanded it actually when I did the first demo. You can see on the bottom of there, I've already sanded it. I'm going to remove some material, and you can see it's on an angle, so make sure you keep the angle. And there's a great big thick mould. I've removed some of it already, obviously. But there's a great big thick mould seam on there. If you want to see all this done out of the packet, go back and have a look at my video for pack 5, and you'll see it on there. So if you remove the mould seam and you thin out the pins or open up the holes, because there's a mould seam on the pins as well, it basically needs to go in and sit nice and tight, and it should stay there on its own. So what I'm going to do is use my calipers once again, and I'm going to measure this pin, and they are 0.8 diameter, and I can see I've still got a mould seam on there, so I'm just going to scrape that away. Okay, let's see if that goes in now. Nope, still not going all the way in. So I'm going to grab these horrible drills. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's the 0.8. I'm going to drill that hole out. I'm going right through it. It doesn't matter if you go right through because you're not going to see underneath there anyway. I hate these drills, they're awful, don't buy them. They've got far too steep a helix on them. As you can see there, they sort of screw themselves into the plastic, and the smaller ones just snap off. There you can see that's fitting on there now, it's butting up nicely. Okay, now what I'm also going to do is with my knife, I'm just going to remove some paint from there. Now you can see that we can get it to sit there on its own, and that's what we want. We want it to sit there on its own. Now this little piece here that's going to go on, the hole isn't deep enough for that either. So I'm measuring the size of this, and it is, the pin on here is 0.9 square. Okay, so if I take a 1mm drill, and I just open up that hole slightly and make it slightly deeper. Okay, it doesn't matter if you go right through because it's going to be hidden. See, it's trying to screw itself in there. Bloody awful things. And then that will fit in there a lot nicer. Like so. And it will go all the way back rather than just sit loosely at the front. So what I'm going to do is get that in there. I'm wondering if extra thin will work. I know it certainly works with the seat, but I don't know what the parts are made of. So that's what a harness is going to fit onto. I'm not sure if it's working or not. Let's have a look. No, it doesn't appear to be. Okay, so we'll take that out, let it all dry off, and then we'll do some super glue. So what we can do now is carry on with this armour plate, and what you will find, we've got a mould seam all the way around the edge. So I'm just going to take a fine sanding stick and just gently go around the edge and remove that sharp mould seam. Now if you want to thin it out you can, but you'd have to end up repainting everything. But its scale thickness is too thick, but it is what it is. Now I'm going to take a sponge, a sanding sponge, and just go around and just soften that edge. It's got that mould seam on there and I don't like it. Okay, we also have on the backs of these, on the fronts of these actually, no, on the backs of them you can see there's like again you've got a mould line around that hole, a raised line. So I've got a burr, this is called a burr, this is a 3mm diameter one, and what I'm going to do is just go in and just remove that raised edge on there. Okay, now we're going to be painting this black, so what I can do, without scratching the yellow, is just scrape it away, or put your finger over the yellow, just gently sand it away, anything that's remaining, and that'll make those brackets fit in there a lot nicer. I'm only guarding the yellow because I'm going to mask it. I don't want to have to repaint the yellow, because painting the yellow on the black is a nightmare. Right, now I can see this is still being held up slightly on this side. So what I'm going to do is get my knife again and remove some plastic from there. I cannot see what is holding it up. Just make sure there's no mould seams or anything. That's better. Right, so now we should be able to hook this on. Let's grab this one. We should be able to hook that on there, and then that pin will go straight into the hole in the seat. And then do the same on this side. Hook that one into there. Got the wrong way round, haven't I? Hook that one into there, like so, and then turn it around. And you see how easy that goes together now, and it stays together and it's all nicely shaped. So there you go. The clue to this is clean up. Clean up, clean up, clean up. Just make sure everything is cleaned up. I can also see here that these are being held off because the holes aren't deep enough. So I'm going to remove these. I'm going to measure the diameter of that pin. And that is 1.1. So we could come along, get a 1.1 drill. And this time we really don't want to go through. And this is where these drills are a pain, because they just want to corkscrew themselves in. They're absolutely awful. They're okay if you're using a power tool, but by hand they just want to just go in like a self-tapper. You have been warned, they are garbage. Right, so what we'll do is check. Yeah, that's going in nicely now. There's the other one. Yeah, so we've got nice flush fitting bits now. So I'm going to get myself some super glue out, and we'll get those bits there all glued together. Okay, so we've got our VMS black thin here. Remember, this stuff doesn't set instantly, so it's not going to be as easy as you may well think. I may end up swearing. We shall see. Get some in there, get this headrest glued on. Okay, so that's going in like that. Cotton bud across the back just to remove any excess. It shrinks down to next to nothing anyway, so that's not a problem. Okay, so that's the excess gone from there, and then this one here, say that again, this one here, this one here is going to hook over that side, like so. Okay, and then that's going to press into the seat. So what I'm going to do is drop a super glue in that hole, then we'll push pass that over. You can see how I'm putting this together and it's all just falling together nicely. If you're wrestling with it, if you're struggling, you haven't cleaned it up enough. Alright, that's the rule of thumb with this headrest, or this armour plate. If it doesn't go together easily, you haven't cleaned it up. We could just nudge that over and push that one in, just like so. So now you can see how that's gone together, and it's a doddle. Right, so now's the time we're going to start being fussy. I'm going to add a drop of super glue in there. And I'm going to put lots in there because I want to fill that hole up. Okay, now a lot of this will go pillory through because it will get pulled through to the other side, like you can see there. That's fine. What I'm going to do is use the super glue to fill that hole up, and then I'm going to let it dry, and then we can sand it flat. We won't have those two horrible holes in the armour plate. Now here I'm going to put some glue in there. Okay, and then I'm going to get my little seat belt mount, and I'm going to put that in that hole, and I'm going to put it on an angle purposely, because whenever I've seen them, they never sit perfectly straight. They always seem to sit on a bit of an angle. So what I'll do is just have that on a bit of an angle like that, perhaps a bit less of an angle. There we go. And then we can drape the seatbelt off it and it'll look great. Right, so there we are, that's that. Now I could actually go on and fit the armrests now, but they'll probably get knocked off. The other thing we need to do here, you can see on the top of the armrests there is a mould seam and a sprue tab, a sprue gate. So we're going to sand that off. So we can take our little sanding stick here and just sand that away until it all disappears. And you'll be through to this black grey plastic. So we'll have to repaint that, but we're going to paint the seat anyway. Okay. So once we've got the seat probably when we've got it to a point where it's painted, we'll probably put these on then. Just taking the mould seal off the bottom of there. And the same on the top here. Mould seam there. Get rid of that. And then the same here. And there we are. And then there we go. So they're ready to be fitted. So we've got the seat there drying. We've got those ready to go on the seat. That's going to be painted green. These are going to be painted silver, but they're not going on yet. They're going to be painted green. They're going to be painted silver. That's going to be painted black. That's going to be painted silver, green, green, grey, green, green, silver, green, grey, green. So we've got our piles now. So we've got grey, silver, black, green. Alright, so we'll get some painting done. See you in a minute. And we're back. It's actually the next day now. I've painted these 4 pieces. I've done these in like a metallic grey colour. It was LP61 I used, Tamiya LP61. So that's that, they're done. So they're all looking good, and that's going to basically fit in there. No, in there, like that. That's going to go, and then we'll have the red wheel on the side of it. So as you can see, we're starting to add a bit of colour. Colour references for Lancaster cockpits for the details. It's quite difficult because most of the pictures you see are restorations, and if you look at the one that's I think it's Duxford, is it? There's lots of photographs of the original sort of cockpit. It looks very original. It has actually been oversprayed, so be very, very careful with that. You can see that the seat, it fooled me, the seat in that actual Lancaster is green, but it was Chris pointed out to me that the seat would have been black, and if you look closely at the photos, you will notice that underneath, where you look at the side of the seat here, you've got tubes, and you can see the back of the tubes are black where they haven't actually gone round and painted the backs of the tubes. Same on the in the nose, the whole nose area is painted black, and that's what people ask the question, should the railings be yellow? If you look closely at those pictures, you can see the backs of the railings are yellow where they haven't painted the backs of them. So whether that was done in wartime or not, I don't know, because I do believe that sort of post 1943 all new aircraft had a black nose area, and I believe some were retrofitted, so or retro painted, and they just literally went in there and just painted everything black. So that was it. They sort of covered up the control panels, and everything else was black. All the wire cabling, everything was just covered in black paint. So there you go. Right, so got the parts here grouped up now. So I've got all the parts here are going to be painted green. These here are going to be painted silver or aluminium or whatever, I don't know. And then here, this is all going to be black. We've got the seat here ready to go. Sanded out those 3 lots of super glue in there to fill those holes, and they're all sanded out now, so they should pretty much disappear. I'm going to go over and do the yellow just to get it a bit brighter before I do anything else. So just put a bit more yellow on there, let that dry, and then we'll mask those off and paint them black. But before I do that, I want to fit the harnesses. Now, there's a couple of things to remember with photo etch. First thing is, make sure you sand the surface to give the paint some adhesion. It helps. It's very difficult with photo etch. I'm not gonna worry about over here because I want to be able to scratch the paint off and have those eyelets exposed. But basically, what we're doing here is just going over where we're going to be putting paint, and it just helps the paint adhere. And it's easier to do this while it's still on the fret, because as you can see, I can just drag a sanding stick across it and not worry about it sort of bending or lifting up or anything. Okay, so that's that done. We appear to have a bit of a raised edge on there. It's a bit weird. I don't think it will show. Okay, so there we are. So that's that done. Now the next thing to do is get these off the fret. Now to do that, I generally use a knife. I use a radius knife. Never cut on a soft mat. Never sort of use a cutting mat to cut your photo etch, because when you push the knife down, it will bend. So if you use a hard mat, when you push the knife down, it will just cut through, just like so. I like to use a radius blade rather than a pointed blade, and that way you can roll the blade and use different parts of the blade all the time. Okay, so coming into the part, cutting it off, just like so. And that's the bit that's going to go over that piece on the top. And then we've got our lap belts here. These aren't the best seat belts in the world. That's why I'm using them on this model, because the seat's not that accurate anyway. But I certainly wouldn't use these in a border model, which is what they're for. So now what we're going to do is remove those little nibs where we've cut them off. So I get a pair of tweezers, a small pair of pliers or something, hold the photo etch, and put a finger there to steady it. And then what we can do is sand away that little brass nib on there. Okay, and then turn it over, and the same on the other side. Alright, so we just do that on all of the ends. You could use a file if you want to, but I tend to use a sanding stick normally. But it's always worth holding them in tweezers or pliers or whatever, because it saves them just running away and bending in your hands. So I'll get the rest done back in a second. Okay, so they're all cleaned up and ready to go. Now, one of the things with brass, especially with seat belts, it's quite difficult to get it to lay down into position, because as you can see, it's quite springy. It returns. So when you try and bend it around, it sort of springs up on you. It doesn't want to go down. Like, for example, if I show you here with this lap belt, okay, if we hold this on the seat where it's going to mount, and then I want to bend it down, it tends to, I can't make it stay down. So you glue it down, and then one day it'll just spring back up when the glue dries out or whatever. So what we're going to do, we're going to anneal them. And what this will do, it will make the brass softer, and it will make it just lay down. So I've got a candle here. Now, sometimes a candle isn't enough. You need to go and use a gas cooker or something. I have seen people, there are videos out there where people get a big blow lamp and they put the sheet of photo etch on the bench and they go, and that's it. That doesn't anneal the brass. The brass needs to change colour. If it glows, that's okay, but that's really a bit too much. You just want it to sort of start to go sort of purple and then stop. And you need to be very, very careful with parts like this, where you've got this tiny little catch. You get that in the flame, that's just going to glow and melt straight away. So what I tend to try and do is sort of hold it like that and cover that up. But I'll show you that in a second. So what we're going to do is just hold this over the flame until it changes colour. Just draw it through the flame and we can see it changing colour. You can see it sort of going purple. There you go. Okay, and that's it. Now what you can do, the proper way to anneal brass is to quench it in water. It's the opposite of steel. So what you do is once it's been heated, you cool it, which actually makes it much easier to use. But you don't need to. You don't have to do that. I guess because it's so thin, it doesn't matter. But it's a big argument the modelers have, and I always get shot down. But if you look at the correct way to anneal brass, you heat it to a certain temperature and then you quench it. So now you will see, same part I showed you just now. I haven't even turned the camera off. I can hold that in position now, push that belt over, and yeah, it's springing up slightly, but it almost stays down. Okay, it doesn't spring back up. So that's that. Okay, so I'll show you this one. We need to be really careful with this one because we'll melt that bit if we get it in the heat too much. So I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to run this along so it changes colour. You can see it. You can see it start to go. That's when get out of the flame. When it starts to move, get out of the flame, because that means it's starting to melt. And you can see this thin bit at the top here. That will go straight away. So we need to be careful of that as well. So I'm going to come along here. Just so it changes colour. You can see I can hold it there for a long time before it actually changes. What's happening here, the tweezers are acting as a heat sink. But we've got this black on here as well. We'll just get that off with a cotton bud, that's easy enough. And we should find now this is all, it's lost its springiness. It just stays where I put it, so that'll make that much easier to use. What I do want to do is make sure that buckle at the top is annealed, because I want that to roll around that bracket at the top. Okay, and you can see the difference in colour. If I hold that one there, let's get that flame out of the way. You can see the difference in colour pre and post annealing. Alright, so I'll just show you once more on the simple piece here. Okay, we're going to go into the flame and you can see it changing colour. It's going to like a purpley sort of blue colour. That's what you want. And then what we can do then is, when it's hot, you can quench it, and that is actually the proper way to do it, but you don't have to. Just get this black off. There we go. So that's all done. What I'm going to do now is just hold this like this and just do this end, because the tweezers will act as a heat sink, so they take all the heat away. And there we are. So that's a little how I anneal brass bit. One more to do. Okay, so as you can see, these belts are a bit bent. What I've done, come along with this one, okay, and I've basically put the top end, put the top end underneath that bracket where it's supposed to hang from. Okay, so just like that, hold that in place, and then just pull the belt to where you want it, push it down, make it stay there, turn it over, keep the top roughly in place, do the same on the other side. This way, okay, so we'll have the belt like that, and this way what we can do is just get it roughly to shape, and then after we've painted it, when we glue it on, we don't have to keep bending it around and making the paint crack off. Alright, so there we go. So it's not perfectly to shape, but it's roughly in shape. So you can see that's how the belt's going to lie. Alright, now this piece here has got a glue on the back. I can't remember how it goes. I think it loops up forward, doesn't it, on the bottom? I think it loops up. I think it probably loops up. Just bend it around something. I think it kind of loops up like that, doesn't it? And goes back on itself. I think so. And then that is going to glue onto the back of here, like so. And then that's going to sit on the seat in its sort of rolled up state. Okay, so we'll get that glued on. We'll see how it looks. And there we go. As you can see, it's done. I'm not over the moon with it, if I'm honest, but it'll do. I think it looks a lot better than the standard seat belt. You can see here the standard webbing that they used. You can see the difference in the size and the width. So I think it'll look alright when it's painted. I've just stopped that over the moon with it. I don't think it's the right shape. There we go. Right, so, and I also think this seat is a little too wide in scale, which is making that look a bit too small. So, but you know, it is what it is. The Hong Kong model seat is all out of shape as well. So, you know, you have no choice really. So what I'm going to do now is just clean up this seat where I've scratched it and everything, and then get that yellow paint on, get these belts primed. What you may choose to do is put the belts on now and then hand paint it all together. I'm going to put the belts on separately afterwards. We'll see how we go. So right, I'm going to get this yellow bit done here, and then I'll go paint these bits green, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what to do. The other thing, or what I do, not sorry, what to do, what I do. This red piece here, the landing gear mechanism, had a great big seam line over the middle of it. Yours might not be the same, but I thought I may as well sand it off because it doesn't look very nice, and then I'll just paint that in red afterwards. So right, we've got our belts done. That was a big hurdle to cross. So I'll see you back in a minute. Okay, quite a bit done off camera. You can see we've got all this done here. We've got that red bit there, brush painted back in, so that's all good. All of this will get a wash and a bit of dry brushing and stuff afterwards. We've painted the harnesses, as you can see. They're done in LP30, which is a light sand, and they've got a slight gloss to them. Don't worry, what I'm going to do is give this all a flat coat, and then we'll polish up the leather on the seat. So as you can see, I've painted the seat, and you're probably thinking, oh my god, you've painted out the yellow circle. And what I've done is use some circle masks, and these are absolutely brilliant. They're called circle masking. They're made by HiQ Parts, and you get these from Premium Hobbies in the UK, and they are absolutely fantastic. You've got here 1 to 2.8 millimeter. They're in 0.2 millimeter increments. So you can see you've got 1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, and so on. Then you've got the medium, which is so you've got here going up to 2.8, and then here you've got 3 to 4.6, again in 0.2 increments. Then we've got the large, which is going from 4.8 to 6, again in 0.2 increments. And then we've got the extra large, which is going from 6.2 to 7.6 in 0.2 increments. So they're absolutely brilliant. I've actually used the 5.6 on this. So so there we go, because I felt they were slightly too large on the model, and this is going to be slightly smaller. So we get the tip of a nice sharp knife. Just get underneath that mask and lift it up. Get our tweezers in there. Lift that away, and you can see now we've got a perfect yellow circle. And we do the same on the back here. Just lift that up. Get that out of the way. There we go. So there we are, all done. So there's our seat. We've also got the, as you can see, I've got the cushion painted in with the green. That's not quite dry yet. You can see the ribbing on the bottom there as well. So all in all, looking quite different. You can see they've got a black seat with the black top of the pedestal and the green sides. It's all looking very different from how it did. Right, so next is going to be getting these belts and everything fitted. I'm going to let all this dry and then go from there. So I think we're going to call it a day for this video. We'll have a sort of part 5B, because I don't want the video to go on for hours, because you just get fed up with watching, won't you? So we'll have a part 5B where we get all this stuff fitted, and we'll basically do what's in pack 5. Pack 6 is going to be all about instrument panel and everything, so there's just going to be a little bit of colour changing on there, maybe add a couple of decals, but nothing too much on there. So we'll see how that goes. Right, I will see you back soon for that one. So thank you for watching. Bye for now.